Same-sex weddings haven't harmed straight marriages, study shows.
Well, I'm glad a study was done on
I'm
that.
glad there's a study. I'm glad there's something that I can point to that probably has a DOI number that I can flash on my videos when I refer to it. So that makes me happy. But, like, well fucking duh. Like, I've said this before on the channel. I got married on the day that same-sex marriage was legalized in Ontario, which is where I live. I didn't know that for more than 15 years. That's how big of an impact same-sex marriage has on straight marriage, is that I didn't even know that I got married on the very day that same-sex marriage became legal for 15 years. So, like, yeah, no fucking duh. But at least now there's a scientific thing.
Yay, we have proof that this is fine.
So this comes to us from Newsweek. Despite arguments against equal marriage, legalizing the marriage of same-sex couples has had no negative impact on the rates among different sex couples. Legalizing same-sex nuptials has actually led to a slight increase in marriage rates overall. Fancy that. Allow more people to get married, and more people get married. Legalizing same-sex marriage has also resulted in several positive impacts on society. These include improved physical health of LGBTQ+ individuals in those states, fewer hate crimes, and increased state-level adoption rates after marriage. So, people are healthier, there are fewer hate crimes, and more kids in need of adoption are getting adopted.
Good.
It's all good.
That feels like that should be the easiest thing in the world to figure out, but
yeah, or yeah, but some of those kids are going to be adopted by same-sex couples, don't you see, Cirrus? Who, statistically speaking, all the outcomes are the same, except children of same-sex couples do better in school. So, yeah, I don't know. Some of those who oppose granting marriage rights to same-sex couples predicted that doing so would undermine the institution of marriage itself, resulting in fewer couples marrying, more couples divorcing, and an overall retreat from family formation. But overall,
I have to wonder, what does undermine even mean to these people? Like, I know that I know it's technically all of those things that are listed there, but I'd like to ask an actual person when they say that, So what does that word mean to you? What does it mean to undermine marriage? Like, how did your marriage get affected by this?
So the nefarious name of Doom says, well, that's obviously because you never knew the joy of pre-same-sex marriage area. And that's a sarcastic comment. I'm like, well, I'm currently doing what is commonly called living in sin right now. So that's well, yeah, no, that's not pre-same-sex marriage though. Honestly, though, like, living with a partner and being married to a partner, there's no difference. There's no effective difference. Like, yeah, we don't have the piece of paper making it official. But yeah, no, there's no difference. I mean, like, when I say there's no difference, I don't mean like there's no difference between the people that I am cohabitating with.
I don't think that's what people worry about.
Like, yeah, no, like the quality.
The piece of paper isn't changing anything.
Yeah, no, like if we were actually married versus just living together now, like that wouldn't change how we do anything. Our lives are functionally the same, and we've actually discussed this, and like we will probably never get married, but we will at some point have a big ceremony to be like, hey, we are making a public commitment to each other. Do we need to get married? Fuck that piece of paper. But we want to throw a big party and dress in fancy clothes and whatever.
You want to do the fun parts.
Yeah. Yeah, so overall, the fears of opponents of same-sex marriage have simply not come to pass. So the researchers analyzed the results of nearly 100 studies. So this is a meta-analysis of 100 studies investigating the impacts of same-sex marriage. That sounds like I wish this was just a waste of money, because like letting more people get married when they just love each other, like whatever,
it should just be fine.
Just let them fucking do it. It doesn't matter. Why do we need a study to say that's okay? But we have over 100 studies where they study the impacts of same-sex marriage, and they found that after states legalized it, marriage rates increased at a greater rate than could be explained by only same-sex ones. So,
God, imagine that.
Yeah, so like new marriages increased by 1 and 2% among different sex couples, and about 10% amongst all couples. So like, even just like more straight people got married as a result of legalizing same-sex marriage. So like, no, that it doesn't impact the sanctity of marriage. It doesn't negatively impact it. If anything, it increases it. Okay. Sorry, I need to take it off because it's a lovely hat, but I have an issue with hats where they make my forehead itch, and this one does that. It triggers that in ways that the ones that sit on top of my headset don't.
Completely understandable.
So we find no evidence for a retreat from marriage. In fact, there is evidence suggesting that by extending marriage rights to a greater number of couples, interest in marriage increased. And that finding is not limited to same-sex couples. This is also true for the broader population. And there's also things like, I've brought this up before, where in like non-United States countries and like other countries in the world, when they've legalized same-sex marriage, that has had a positive health impact even on same-sex couples that did not get married, like same-sex people that had no intention of ever getting married. It still had positive health impacts that were measurable. So like, it's good for everybody, it's bad for nobody.
But it's bad for me because I get off to the idea of possibly being gay, and I have a shame kink, and I really don't want you mucking that up. Okay, it's a real important part of how I de-stress.
Yeah, you can find someone. You can find someone that will consensually shame you. You don't need to trick me into shaming you. But there were no declines in the marriage rates of different sex couples, and there were no increases in divorce rates of different sex couples. So didn't do anything to hurt same-sex or different sex marriage. And on top of that, it also found that in states where same-sex marriage had been legalized, there was a drop in state-level rates of syphilis, HIV, and AIDS. So legalizing same-sex marriage stops the spread of sexually transmitted infections, which they claim to be all for stopping the spread of those things.
This is all good. I fail to see a problem here.
Unless you're one of those people who's like, oh, the gays deserve to have the AIDS because they're gay, so we should do things to make them have more AIDS. You know, like Mike Pence would do in Indiana when he was in charge of that sort of shit there. Same-sex households also experience higher rates of home ownership and higher earnings, and they adopted more children. So, like, yeah, it's good stuff all around. There was a drop, they also found there was a drop in sexual orientation motivated hate crimes and employment discrimination against LGBTQ plus individuals, as well as no negative changes in public opinion towards same-sex couples. I feel like if you specify trans people, that will have a different result, but that's for different reasons. That's for Chris Rufo reasons. Yeah, that's because they're doing all the same shit that with trans people now as they were doing with gay people in the 60s. It's like, won't somebody think of the children? It's like, yeah. Well, if you let the trans kids just be trans, then that lowers their suicide rate. That's a good thing, is it not? So just let them be trans.
I just think Republicans should probably stop thinking about children, honestly.
I do not disagree.
For Tennessee reasons.
Sure. I don't know specifically what that's about, but I can guess.
Because Tennessee was the one that tried to make a special second kind of marriage that included children.
10VP says, my uncle tried to pull me into some hate my wife jokes and I just gush and brag on her. She's great. Yeah, absolutely. That's where I'm at too. Because like there are times when like I kind of have this thing where like the idea of her being gone, me getting the house myself is like exciting at first. And then as soon as it actually happens, like, well, what do I want to do with myself? Well, I kind of wish she was here so I could spend time with her. Because
Yeah.
I like doing that. Like, okay. Well, I guess I'll figure something out to do by myself. I suppose I could play some video games. Because that's something she doesn't really do with me. But I also don't really do that all that much myself. So yeah, I don't get the whole hate my wife jokes thing. Like,
I don't either. I feel like if you don't like your partner, leave them.
yeah, that's like breaking up is fine. I wish there was not a social stigma to breaking up. It's like if you don't, yeah, don't give me that look. I'm not talking about me breaking up with you right now. We love each other. No, I don't think there should be a stigma with that because like you shouldn't feel ashamed to tell your friends and family that like, oh yeah, no, we turns out we weren't really compatible, so we're parting ways. That should be fine because that's best for everybody. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't things that like if there are difficulties in a relationship, you can work it through. Like we have had our difficulties in our relationship. Like I know when we were doing our couples stream thing, um, before we kind of put that on hiatus so she could focus on her school. We were always talking about like, yeah, we never really fought because we would just like talk it out. We have had a fight since then,
Mm-hmm.
but we still ended up just talking it out.
Because you're functional human beings.
Yeah. And like, not all the issues are solved. We're still dealing with some pretty difficult shit, but like, we're doing it together and we want to help each other. And like,
Conflict is
if either of us didn't feel that way, then be like, then it's okay to break up. So
conflict is okay in relationships, and recognizing that is a healthy thing. And
also
think
recognizing when you're
need
just
to
not
talk about that.
compatible is okay. And like the whole idea of like staying together for the kids, like we got to stay together, and then once all the kids turn 18, we'll break up. It's like no, you are creating a toxic home environment for the kids.
Yeah.
Like yeah, breaking up might be more difficult when there are kids involved, but sometimes that would actually be best for the kids. And I say that like we have one kid in particular who is likely trans, whose father is anti-trans, and has actually told the child, I am going to withhold certain aspects of fatherly affection unless you have the gender identity that I prefer, even when you're not with me.
Then he's a piece of shit.
I am aware of that. And yet that is a source of extreme frustration for us, especially because the other child feels the need to earn his validation and love. So the other child who is not trans will tell on the trans child, be like, oh, no, that child was being a girl.
Oh, God fucking damn it.
So,
really?
Yeah. So it's a bit of a nightmare of a situation. And I fucking hate it. And she fucking hates it. But like if we were not on the same page, the last thing the kids need is another area of conflict in there. So like it'd be best for the kids if we were on the same page there. So like if we weren't, breaking up might be okay. But like we are on the same page, and the best we can do is hope that the kids know that like the kids will recognize that like our place is where they are safe and can be who they are. And like even if like so like even if their father gets under their skin and is like, oh no, we're like, I'm a boy now instead of a girl, it's like, okay, then we'll treat you as a boy until you tell us otherwise, and we'll still let them lead that. Because like that's the thing, like all these anti-trans people, they try and paint the picture of like we're trying to push them to be trans. But like, no, I want these kids to have a good relationship with their father because that would be best for them. But so if they come back and be like, oh no, I'm not trans because that's what dad wants, they're like, okay, we'll let you make that choice, but like if you change your mind later, we'll still be here for you. And long term, they'll know which parents were on their side.
Yeah, they'll be able to figure that out in time.
Yeah. Anyway.
Still a fucked up situation.
Before I accidentally say things that will get me in trouble, which I don't think I've done yet, but there have been a couple streams where I've cut some things out.
Nixie Chan, thank you so much for the raid. How was your stream?
Yay, raid!
The stream sponsored by... No, not really.
Nobody ever raids me. But that's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's... Nobody knows. Nobody knows who I am on Twitch. I got my 18 viewers. I'm happy. Yeah, no, I'm primarily a YouTube guy, so raids aren't really a thing on YouTube.
And you've got a fuck ton of people watching over on YouTube right now.
I do. Like 155. That's not bad. That's pretty good.
That's incredibly good.
That's better than my main channel usually gets. So like, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, you are doing fantastic on the YouTube end.
That was not meant as a complaint. It's just kind of a like old man doesn't understand the Twitch. I'm here because I have to be. But the 18 of you who watch on Twitch, I appreciate you.
Yeah, I am in the opposite. I am now at 14 people watching on my live channel and 70 something watching on Twitch because I have not been able to keep my streaming up the way I'm supposed to. That is an entirely on me thing.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the end of this article. So we can move on. Fennec says, "Hi friends," which I assume is directed at the people that just showed up in your thing.
I would hope so. Maybe.
Nefarious
possibly.
Name of Doom says, "Yay, Daddy likes us." I like all my viewers. If you actually like come here and want to hear what I have to say when I'm 3 beers in, I appreciate you.
You're a cool person.
Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Nixie Chan, the Oberon team, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.